the cold fall and winter months, there is nothing better than a steaming hot bowl of tomato soup. So that's exactly what I'm gonna make today, but I'm adding my own little fresh twist by topping it with a vibrant pesto, because basil and tomato, there's no better combination. To start, we're gonna chop 2 large onions. And they can be pretty roughly chopped because in the end we're gonna puree the soup so it's super creamy. First up, we're gonna add in a stick of Earth Balance dairy-free butter, and the reason why I like using dairy-free butter is because dairy makes me break out, and the awesome thing about this tomato soup is it's crazy creamy and it doesn't use any dairy whatsoever, so it's perfect. And then we're gonna add in our onions and cook them until they're translucent and fully cooked through. I'm gonna add in a 1/2 cup of all-purpose flour and cook it for about 5 minutes so that it loses its raw taste. Now we're gonna add a cup of chicken stock, a 1/4 cup of white wine. Then you're gonna wanna add in 4 28-ounce cans of diced tomatoes, but today I only had 2, so the other 2 are just gonna be crushed tomatoes, but it'll still be fine, don't worry. Then we're gonna add in a 1/4 cup of sugar, 1 tablespoon of salt, and a teaspoon of pepper. While our soup is simmering away, we're gonna make our pesto. This is a super simple, basic pesto. We gotta start off, of course, with 2 cloves of garlic. They're gonna go in our food processor, and we're gonna process them until they're really small and finely minced. So now we add in our 2 cups of basil, as well as a 1/4 cup of pine nuts and a 1/4 cup of Parmesan cheese. So as you can see, everything is really small and finely minced. Now what I'm gonna do is slowly drizzle in my extra virgin olive oil while it's on. And I'm doing this so that it will emulsify, which is basically just a fancy chef word for make it really creamy and make sure the olive oil is incorporated. So our soup has been simmering and bubbling for about 10 to 12 minutes now. It's thickened up, it smells so good in my house. And now we're going to blend it up using an immersion blender, which is basically just a handheld blender that you stick into your pot. If you don't have one of these, you can just pour it in batches into your blender or food processor. This just makes it a little bit easier, so that's what I'm gonna use today. And this is my favorite step of the entire recipe, because this is when the soup comes together, it becomes velvety and creamy, and it's so good. And it's good to go. Now we're ready to plate. So I brought my bowl of soup over to the table. I've got a cup with some of my pesto in it, and we're gonna plate this all together. So I'm gonna start by taking a spoonful of my pesto, a good spoonful, because we want this flavor in here. And I'm gonna put it right in the center. So right before you eat this, there are 2 things you can do. One, you can mix the whole soup together and make sure the pesto is incorporated, or you can just take a bite and make sure you get a little bit of the pesto in. And that's what I'm gonna do. Guys, tomatoes and basil is one of the best combinations in my opinion, because the tomatoes are a little bit tangy and sweet. The basil adds this fresh element, a little brightness. See, it's dishes like this that get me excited for the winter time, because I'm not a huge fan of cold weather, but when I get to sit down and cuddle up with a hot bowl of soup, it makes me a very happy girl. So you guys, definitely give it a try, even if it isn't cold where you live right now. This soup, honestly, it's good all year round. You're gonna love it. I really hope you try it. And of course, you can use the pesto recipe on its own, the tomato soup recipe on its own, or you can mash them together. Either way, they're delicious. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you all in my next video. Bye, everybody.